We are back. It's Bob and Perry again. We are halfway through our predictions for 2020 and beyond. And this is an interesting one today, Perry. A little bit geopolitical, maybe? I'm not sure. I'm waiting for you to kind of explain it a little bit better. So, this is the Uberization of food. What are you talking about?
So this was not on my radar at all until just within the last month. One of my friends who is in the nature conservancy business said, Perry, you should really, for your Evolution 2.0 podcast, you really ought to interview Joe Salatin. And Joe is kind of a renegade alternative farming guy. And you can listen to the podcast that we did. He also has a really great Google talk that you can find on video. And he explained to me that the food industry in the United States is heavily regulated.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, if you own a chicken, chickens and a cow, and you want to milk your cow and sell the milk to your neighbor, you could get arrested for that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like where the state where he lives, the only way to get beef from a cow at will is if you are a fractional owner of a cow, like having stock in a corporation. And it's because the food laws, and if you go back in the history of the food industry, there were like poisonous food and epidemics and people dying and all this kind of stuff. But he said the regulations in the United States are roughly reflect the technology of 1906.
Well, wow.
And they're all built to favor big companies and to penalize small producers. And so now, maybe this is one of these more optimistic posts as opposed to the realistic posts, but the beer industry suggests to me that I might be right on this one. Okay. So what's happened in the beer industry is 20 years ago, American beer was swill. Okay.
Yeah.
Budweiser, all those brands, they taste awful. But what's happened in the last, especially 10 years, is microbrews in the United States have just gone crazy. And now you go to many restaurants and they'll have a little section. It's like, well, we got this locally made beer and this locally made wine and this, and they're really good. I mean, they just keep getting better and better. And in fact, some of the very best award-winning drinks and beers and wines and stuff are starting to come out of the United States. And you've got like German breweries putting in, U.S. operations and stuff. And I think the same thing's going to happen with food. I think, I don't know if it's a food app that goes crazy, but, look at how Uber conquered the taxi industry. And industries are going to continue to be conquered in a similar way, in a very disruptive way, in a very uncomfortable way. Through the rest of the century. And I think the food business is one of those things. Now, there's a huge amount of food that people buy. And the cost of shipping food is one of the major expenses of food. And so there are very good reasons to believe that softening of regulations could create a whole artisanal local food market industry that doesn't exist now, that can exist. And I think the health trends and the eating trends and the backlash against, corn syrup and all that other stuff.
Right, and GMOs.
GMOs, I think there are factors in society that are pushing very, very hard in the direction of locally grown, natural, grass-fed beef, and real actual agriculture. And I think you're going to see a major change in the next 10 to 20 years around that.
Yeah, so you're not talking about Uber Eats or DoorDash in this one. This is
No.
this is what Uber did to the taxi industry, the food industry is going to see the same sort of revolution and renovation that we've
Yes,
seen. And I think
yes,
too, Perry, just I think we've already seen it, especially the last couple of years. The blue aprons, the Hello Fresh, the at-home delivery. Obviously, they're selling convenience, but the other thing that they sell in those boxes is your beef had a name, right? It's we know the name of the farmer that grew these
mm,
vegetables. We know what they put on the plants. We know if it's organic or if it's chemical. So it's literally already happening. And I think the last probably domino, I guess, which what you're addressing is the regulations that would allow that to open up even more to really give the consumers what they're already asking for.
that's right.
Awesome. All right. Well, that takes care of number 5. We are rapidly approaching number 1. We will see you tomorrow with prediction number 4.